Hello, my friends, and let's get straight to the Kursk direction, where the Russians have almost completely pushed out the Ukrainian armed forces. The Ukrainian side still reports that a small area near the border remains under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, but most likely even this territory will soon return to Russian control. They continue the attacks, but today that's not even the main issue. For the first time since the war began, Putin and the chief of the general staff of the Russian armed forces, Gerasimov, visited Kursk region. And Putin stated that the region must be fully cleared in the shortest possible time. He also said that they need to consider a buffer zone. This could mean that they will try to ride the wave of success and break through to Sumy region.
Our task in the near future, in the shortest possible time, is to completely crush the Ukrainians entrenched in Kursk Oblast and still conducting combat operations here. We must fully liberate the territory of Kursk Oblast, restore the situation along the state border, and, of course, we need to think about creating a security zone in the future.
Meanwhile, Gerasimov stated that in some areas they have already entered Sumy region.
The area of Ukrainian penetration in Kursk Oblast has decreased by more than 2.5 times, and the operation to destroy the Ukrainians on Kursk's soil continues. The Ukrainian military group that entered is isolated, and its systematic elimination is underway. In certain directions, Russian units have crossed the state border and entered Sumy Oblast, where the destruction of Ukrainian reserves continues and the security zone is being expanded.
He may be referring to the area around the villages of Novenka and Zhuravka, where the Russians recently managed to gain a foothold. Everyone also started noticing that Putin wore a military uniform, which he does very rarely. Putin attended a meeting at one of the command points of the Kursk military group. Observers note that for the president, military attire is a rare element of his image. Throughout his time in office, Putin has worn a uniform only a few times. This happened right after Washington's ceasefire proposal. High ranking observers are convinced that this is a clear message from Putin that he will not accept Washington's offer. It's a rather strange logic. If he put on a uniform, it means he's determined to reject a truce. Or maybe he wore it because he understands that the war is coming to an end and he won't have another reason to wear it again. So he decided to appear on television in uniform. Friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's move on to the situation on the front lines, starting with the Pokrovsk direction. Here, after a brief lull, the Russians have begun attacking across the entire sector with maximum intensity. According to Russian military correspondents, the Ukrainian armed forces are also continuing counterattacks using armored vehicles. As a result, fierce battles are taking place near Pokrovsk. Intense close quarters battles with armored vehicles on both sides. The Ukrainians managed to push our units back slightly in the southern part of Udachne. In Kotline and Zvirove, the situation remains mostly unchanged, but the fighting is just as intense. In Peshchan, the Ukrainians are pressing hard with heavy unmanned aerial vehicles activity. In Shevchenko, our units once again drove the Ukrainians back to the northern outskirts. In the northeast, there are ongoing battles with shift and control. Ukrainians occasionally break through but fail to hold positions. Meanwhile, the Russians continue trying to break through to Novoalexandrivka, fighting near Udachne and Kotline. Clashes are ongoing near Shevchenko, and Russian forces are storming Chunishine, Zelene, Lysivka, Romень, and Myrolюбivka, while advancing near the highway. As seen, they are present along the entire front line, but so far the Ukrainian forces are managing to hold the defense with no major breakthroughs in the past 24 hours. However, it's important to note that geolocation footage from the Russians already shows them actively using FPV drones against military and civilian vehicles near the city of Rodinsk. Videos have also surfaced showing the destruction of Ukrainian military equipment on the highway from Pokrovsk toward Rodinsk. So the drone situation remains very challenging and no significant improvements have been achieved yet. In the direction of Kurakhove, heavy fighting continues along almost the entire front line. Russian forces are storming Kotlarivka and Preobrazhenka, attempting to break through to Troitsk and Oleksiivka and attacking Constantinople. There have been no changes in the past 24 hours, but the situation remains critical. The situation in the Velyka Novosilka direction is even worse. Russian sources have released video evidence confirming the capture of the village of Dniproenergia. Reports from Ukrainian forces on the ground also confirm that Russian troops have taken control of this settlement. The Russians have completed stabilization measures in Dniproenergia and raised their flag in the northwestern part of the village. Next, they will attempt to bypass Vesela from the east, moving through Fedorivka toward Kumar. However, they are aware that they will face defensive lines ahead, so they will rely heavily on drone reconnaissance and aviation. This will make things very difficult for us. Additionally, as reported yesterday, the Russians have occupied three lines southwest of the captured village of Skudne. Now they are advancing toward Vesele from the south to reach the village outskirts. The Russians have also approached the outskirts of Vilne Pole and has begun small assaults, indicating that a battle for the village is imminent. At the same time, it's important to note that Russian sources claim Ukrainian forces have launched counterattacks near the villages of Privilne and Novosilka. Ukrainian troops have reportedly managed to enter and establish positions in these settlements. This suggests that the Ukrainian forces are beginning to regain lost territory in this sector. However, we are still waiting for official confirmation from Ukrainian side. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces are not decreasing their activity, continuing attacks on Novodanilivka, storming Sherbaki, Pyatykhatky, Lobkove, and Kamensk, while also attempting to break through toward Stepove. Geolocation data shows that Russian forces are actively using FPV drones in this area, even targeting and destroying Ukrainian drones. Additionally, Russian sources claim they have taken control of the village of Pyatykhatky. They have released a video showing a Russian flag placed on one of the destroyed buildings in the village. This means we are now waiting for confirmation from the Ukrainian side. It appears that after prolonged assaults, Russian forces have started making advances in this sector as well. In the Kherson direction, Russians continue have a shelling of the right bank and are conducting attacks on the islands near the Antonivsky Bridge. However, Russia hasn't achieved any success and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Toretsk direction, Russian forces continue the attempts to break through in the central part of the city. Fighting is also ongoing in Dachne, with Russian troops trying to advance toward Delivka and near Druzhba. The situation remains difficult, but despite this, there have been no significant changes to the front line. In the Chasiv Yar direction, Russian forces have intensified the activity as well. They are attacking Maiske, engaging in battles in the city center, storming Stupochki, and attempting to break through to Bila Hora and Delivka. Shalin remains relentless, and the Ukrainian forces report that the situation is worsening. In Chasiv Yar, the situation has significantly deteriorated over the past few weeks. More than half of the city has been lost territorially, and approximately 75% of defensible positions have been compromised. However, the Russians' main objective, advancing along the Bakhmut Konstantinivka highway, hasn't been achieved. Their movement remains blocked. Our defenders continue to demonstrate extraordinary resilience, especially considering the disparity in resources and effectiveness of their use. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces continue the attacks on Bilohorivka, but they haven't achieved any success, and the situation has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Liman direction, Russian activity remains extremely high. They are attempting to storm Ямполівка, Зелена Долина, Липове, Катеринівка, and Новомихайлівка. Although no territorial changes have occurred in the past day, the ability to maintain the defense remains uncertain. The Russian assaults are relentless, making the situation increasingly difficult. In the Borova direction, the Russians are storming Bogoslavka and Nova Kruglяківка. Also, Sinigubov announced the evacuation from the hospital in Borova. In the southern part, attacks are ongoing on Cherneshina and Grekivka. However, there are no changes along the front line so far. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians are storming Kucherivka and Petropavlivka. Shelling of Kupiansk continues, but so far the Ukrainian forces have been able to repel all attacks, and there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians have increased the number of shelling in the Kozachya Lopan area, and after a long period of calm, they are once again trying to break through to the village of Gliboke. So far, they have had no success in the past 24 hours, and in Vovchansk, the fighting continues without pause. However, the Ukrainian forces are consistently repelling all attacks, and the situation remains unchanged. But all of this could stop very quickly. Just yesterday, Trump announced that an American delegation is flying to Russia. Therefore, negotiations should take place today. Trump said that the American delegation is already heading to Russia to discuss a ceasefire in Ukraine. Yesterday, we achieved great success. We have a full ceasefire. Whether it will begin, we will see. Right now, it depends on Russia, but in reality, we have good relations with both sides. We know that while we are talking, our people are heading to Russia. I hope we can get Russia to agree to a ceasefire. Despite some Russians expressing opposition to halting the war today, Putin has repeatedly stated that he wants to end the war as soon as possible. Moreover, if Trump can find the right leverage to pressure Russia, Putin will not be able to refuse. Additionally, he is already planning to trade rare earth metals from the occupied Ukrainian territories with the United States. Therefore, Putin is also interested in stopping the conflict. We're still waiting to see what the results of the negotiations between the US and Russia will be. And Rubio said, a ceasefire could happen within a few days if Russia agrees. I hope for that. I really want to believe that in a few days we won't be discussing the front lines, but we'll start talking only about political news. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.